Right, they are finally back. Welcome to the Explainer. The floodlights are on, the anticipation is absolutely electric, and Hansi Flick has officially arrived to take charge of FC Barcelona for a brand new La Liga era.
So let's dive straight into this tactical trial. Flick's objective? It's immediate and frankly non-negotiable. Start with 3 points. But look, this isn't just your standard routine opening fixture. The pressure on the new gaffer is already sky high. Following the unexpected postponement of their scheduled clash with Athletic Club, Barcelona finds themselves kicking off this campaign on the road against Elche. This, my friends, has all the makings of a classic trap game. You've got a new manager trying to implement a radically different system on opening night, away from home, against a team absolutely desperate to spoil the party. After winning the league previously, the standards have been firmly set and the stakes for this trip are massive. Can Hansi Flick pass his first major test right out of the gate? Well, to answer that, we've got to look at the tools he actually has at his disposal.
And that brings us to a glaring void right in the middle of the pitch. Barcelona's traditional penalty box references, they've simply vanished. Robert Lewandowski is gone. Ferran Torres has departed. The players you traditionally expect to anchor that front line and bully center backs are no longer options. This leaves an enormous, undeniable question mark hovering right over that number 9 slot. It's a massive tactical mystery for Flick to solve on day one. I mean, how on earth do you replace that kind of established, reliable firepower overnight in a system that literally demands goals?
Now, Flick has confirmed that his decision for the striker role is already made, even if he's kept the actual name tightly under wraps during the pressers. But the reporting all points to a secret weapon who is, wait for it, just 18 years old. Think about that for a second. To make a competitive debut up front on opening night for Barcelona at just 18, that is a colossal opportunity, but it brings unimaginable pressure. La Masia obviously has a long history of producing generational talents who are asked to grow up incredibly fast, and this looks to be the next major test of that renowned youth system. It is a tremendous show of faith from the manager to thrust a teenager into one of the most high-pressure roles in European football.
Enter Hamza Abdelkarim. And what's really interesting here is that he hasn't just been picked randomly out of a hat because they needed a warm body. No, Hamza has netted 4 times in preseason. He has been absolutely clinical, essentially kicking the door down and forcing himself directly into the manager's first-team plans. But beyond just the goals, his specific traits make him a fascinating fit for Flick's intense system. He's incredibly dynamic. He's totally willing to do the grueling, dirty off-the-ball running required to trigger the press, and he's got the raw pace to exploit high defensive lines. This is just a brilliant example of a young player seizing the moment when a squad transition opens up a massive gap.
Let's step back for a second and look at the full picture of this bold, youth-led, predicted 11 stepping onto the pitch. We're looking at Joan Garcia in goal, protected by a very sturdy physical backline anchored by Jules Koundé and Eric Garcia, with Gerard Martin and Alejandro Balde providing the width. Then you've got a highly technical engine room with young Marc Bernal and the maestro himself, Pedri. Finally, we get to that lethal attacking quartet. Lamine Yamal out on the right, Fermin Lopez pulling the strings in the center, Rafinha stretching the play on the left, and young Hamza Abdelkarim leading the line. It is an incredibly dynamic, youthful, and technically gifted starting 11.
Right, but how will these 11 actually operate under Flick? This is where the philosophy takes a radical shift. We are moving well beyond the classic, horizontal tiki-taka of the past, where the goal was to keep the ball endlessly, sometimes just passing side to side to catch a breath. Flick's system demands possession with purpose. He absolutely wants to retain the ball, but he wants it done with high-octane verticality. What does that actually mean? It means moving the ball forward quickly, rather than safely cycling it backward. It's all about fast, aggressive transitions. When Barca loses the ball, the instruction is counter-pressing, winning it back the absolute second they lose it high up the pitch. And once they win it, they don't reset. They sprint vertically toward the opposition box to strike while the defense is completely disorganized.
And this brilliantly illustrates the flip side of that aggressive coin, the immense, terrifying risk involved. To facilitate this intense counter-pressing and choke the opposition in their own half, Barcelona must defend with a staggeringly high defensive line. We're talking about pushing the back four right up towards the halfway line. This creates a mountain of vacant space behind them, a highly vulnerable red zone. If Elche can manage to survive that initial frantic wave of pressing and clip just one accurate ball over the top, they'll find themselves staring at vast, empty tracts of grass. Just imagine a fast Elche winger breaking into a full sprint with 40 yards of open space and only the keeper to beat. It is a massive, heart-and-mouth tactical gamble by the manager.
But let's see how this risk builds into a devastating attacking advantage, particularly for their star winger. Because Barcelona doesn't have a static, traditional box striker like Lewandowski just holding a central position, the forward line becomes incredibly fluid. Hamza acts as a fluid striker, constantly dropping deep into the midfield, and this creates a domino effect. An Elche defender is instinctively forced to step up and track him, completely pulling them out of their defensive structure. The immediate result? That movement clears out a massive pocket of space on the wing, leaving Lamine Yamal totally isolated in a dangerous one-on-one matchup. If you're watching the game, keep a close eye on this. Give Lamine Yamal an inch of space without a double team, and you've just created an absolute tactical nightmare for the opposition. Of course, to make all this vertical passing and fluid movement actually work, you need absolute control in the center of the park. Enter the midfield masters. Pedri is going to be the absolute master of keys in this setup. He's the one who'll pick the locks, operating in those tight, congested pockets between the midfield and defense, turning under intense pressure to dictate and shift the rhythm of the attack. But look, he can't do it alone. Alongside him is young Marc Bernal, whose role is arguably the most crucial for team balance. Bernal has to physically shield that vulnerable high-line defense. He is the anchor. He's tasked with sweeping up loose balls, winning crucial tackles in transition, and plugging the gaps when the fullbacks bomb forward. By doing the dirty work, Bernal gives Pedri the freedom to control the overall pitch geography.
So, the crucial point here is that while the starting 11 is wildly potent, there is a massive reinforcement waiting in the wings that adds a whole new layer of cinematic tension to this match. We absolutely cannot forget the arrival of star signing Rodri. He's successfully recovered from a minor back operation, and crucially, he is fully registered and ready to go. Now, while it's highly unlikely he'll step onto the pitch and play a full 90 minutes right away, his mere presence in the squad is a total game changer. Imagine being the Elche manager. You spend 70 minutes running your players into the ground trying to contain Yamal and Pedri, and just as legs are getting heavy, you look over and see a fresh, world-class talent like Rodri taking off his warm-up gear. Just having a player of his caliber available to come off the bench alters the tactical dynamic and late-game strategy entirely.
When you stack up all these advantages, the tactical fluidity, the raw, explosive talent of Yamal, the midfield mastery of Pedri, it's absolutely no surprise that the prediction markets are leaning heavily in one direction. Markets like Polymarket are currently giving Barcelona a massive 80% implied win probability for this fixture. But remember, probability is not certainty. As any true follower of the sport knows, football on the pitch doesn't care about statistical maths, analytical models, or implied odds. An 80% chance on paper guarantees absolutely nothing when the whistle blows away from home under the floodlights against a team desperate to ruin a debut.
Despite that necessary caution, looking closely at the tactical blueprints and the sheer, relentless firepower on display, we are predicting an emphatic, ruthless statement from Hansi Flick's men. Our final prediction for this opening night, a highly professional, entirely dominant away win. Elche 0, Barcelona 3. Expect this new-look, vertically aggressive Barcelona side to completely control possession, stretch the pitch to its absolute limits, and systematically wear Elche down until the dam finally breaks.
Which brings us to the final whistle of our explainer. We've laid out the tactical trade-offs, the massive high-line risks, and the tremendous youth movement leading this squad into a brand new era. Now it's over to you to analyze this breakdown. Will Hamza Abdelkarim shine in that pressure cooker number 9 role? And most importantly, can Hansi Flick navigate this tricky away fixture to secure all 3 points and kick off his tenure with a statement victory? Keep these tactical battles in mind as you watch the match unfold. Thank you for joining this explainer, and enjoy the kickoff.